You can make breaks yourself, kill the bass, maybe add a delay or a reverb and have like a small build-up in between. Today is an extremely busy day, but I still want to try and squeeze at least 20 DJ tips into this video, so let's see if I can actually make it. First tip is a very obvious one. Play accordingly to the location you're playing at, to the event, to the people that visit it. Make sure you play for them. As long as you're not a superstar DJ, that's your main task. Another obvious one, don't be like me, always in a rush and always almost kind of late. I think for a club gig, be there at least half an hour earlier. For a wedding, at least an hour. They might otherwise just freak out. If you didn't know, people, weddings, there's a lot of freaking out going on.
The games that you've been playing inside of my head, I'm feeling numb for the first time.
Very quick, some technical tips. First up, if you're DJing with the Pioneer stuff and you use a USB stick, it will ask you to load your settings. You can set all of these settings in the software in advance. For example, the auto cue could be set in advance if it's in vinyl or CD mode, and a whole lot of other things, so that whenever you play in a club and you don't use your own equipment, it's all preloaded. You can work way faster and there is no switching around, forgetting to set something. The most important settings, you just have to press down utility really long, and then you can here select eject and load mode. And I always set it to lock. It basically prevents you from killing the song that is playing to everyone else, so you can't load a new song onto the CDJ while the current one is still playing. So you first have to press pause and then load the new song. This will prevent you from a lot of really weird and shitty nights. Speaking of shitty nights, if you ever by mistake kill the music, or you just mess up your beat matching entirely and the entire club is looking into your direction, and you get this weird feeling, don't freak out. Stay cool, stay calm, just smile. Maybe if the music is off entirely, just say sorry and play the next song. No one at the end of the evening will even remember. Trust me, they're all drunk, they all want to enjoy their evening. And if you just play it cool, people will forget it even faster. If you freak out or get embarrassed or hide or run away, people will remember. The next tip, you should definitely know if you've ever DJed in front of people. If you don't, then yeah, I'm sorry, but that's how you do it with the cue button. You see I hit cue, it's starting to play the song. Whenever I let it go, it jumps back to the cue point. And now when you want to play that song, actually I cue it up, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I hit down the cue button. In the meantime, the song is playing. But if you let it go, it switches back. So if you want to keep it playing, you have to press down the cue and at the same time hit the play pause, and it will continue playing. Because I see a lot of people, they cue 1, 2, 3, 4 and then hit the play pause, which also works. But that little gap where you switch between the buttons will already mess up your beat matching, and then you have to push, search again which one of them is faster, slower, adjust them. So just really cue, 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 and then hold down the play pause button. Whenever you have to push to adjust the speed and get both tracks in sync, try to do it before you actually mix the songs together so that it stays beat matched, so people don't hear that pushing. If you have to do it, if they drift apart, then do it on the one record that is quieter than the other. So if you mix this one in, that's the quiet one, do the adjustment here. Once you've crossed that point and they're both almost still synced, and you have to adjust and do it on the other plate. Don't do it on the loud one, because people will hear it more. The next part is the favorite part of every wannabe DJ. Effects. If you overuse these effects and these effects, believe me, it will just sound horrible, because you have to think the songs that you're playing, a producer made them hours and hours and hours in his studio, same as I'm doing here every day with my little setup. So those songs already have effects on them, they already have breaks. You don't have to do too much to them. Use your effects wise and spare. If it's needed to make a transition, use them. If you've trained a certain line or effect method, then do it, but please don't overdo it. Especially effects like spiral, transgate, the phaser, the robot. I don't know, to me, they just sound so like 90s and really old school and cheap. Also, when you use the effects, always keep in mind these effects, they have a tempo, especially like stuff like echo and delay. You have to set them accordingly to fit to the BPM of the song, and also make sure you select the right timing. You can select here 1/4, half, and 3/4, and so on. A lot of beginners mix the songs with the volume, and there's nothing wrong with that. You can make perfect mixes just by switching the volume of two songs, but I personally prefer switching or mixing actually the basses of the songs. So getting rid of the bass of one of the songs and increasing the bass on the other one makes a smoother transition, especially for club music, because if you have the bass on both songs running, it's too much bass. It will either destroy the club system, it will either trigger the limiter and make the sound really squashed, or it will just be too much bass and it sounds very boomy. And you never ever want the transition phase actually having more energy and more bass than the actual song. So if the transition has that much bass and you get out of the transition to the song, it just disappoints because it doesn't have that much bass anymore. People get used to the overload of bass really quickly, and then it just sounds really boring afterwards. This directly leads to the next point, and that is like, I think one of the main points DJing. It's controlling the contrast between breaks and drops, having the people rest and having the people dance. You need to have like a good feeling for the crowd, read the crowd. Are they tired? Do they need another break? You can make breaks yourself, kill the bass, maybe add a delay or a reverb and have like a small build-up in between. Or do they have a whole lot of energy? Are you the headliner? You just play for 2 hours, you can go like full power, full speed. Then you can play a lot more drops. And if you don't actually have that many people on the dance floor, playing long breaks is always kind of embarrassing and kills the vibe, because people start dancing and then comes this huge break and they just go get a drink. What I sometimes do if that happens, or if it's the beginning of the night, I first select songs that don't have that long breaks and are more groovy, or I loop up a kick on the other player and mix it underneath of the break of the other song so that it has a little of groove and rhythm going on throughout the entire break or throughout the first half of the break. What's also really important, and I love to use, is like the clever use of setting up loops. So now it's looping 1 bar, you can switch it, half, just 1 kick. Just in case you get to the end of a song and you still haven't queued in the next one, just loop up the very last section and then hurry up to transition out of the loop as fast as possible. It's just an emergency thing instead of having no sound at all, because this will kill the vibe quite a lot if there's like a constant loop going on and nothing changing. There's another trick with the sound color effects that a lot of people don't know. For example, if you use the space, turn it up, and you get rid of the sound, the space will actually keep on going. Although you turn down the volume on the song entirely, the effect stays on. And this is true for those sound color effects. You can definitely use that to your advantage. When I make a transition and I want to get out of that song, I get rid of the bass, I maybe increase the reverb, and then I just turn down the fader and the tail of the reverb keeps on going, which makes a really nice smooth transition that sounds very natural. Don't be like me right now, sitting in front of the equipment, just doing it to explain it to you, but whenever you DJ in front of people, make sure to stand behind the desk, dance a little. Come on, shh, I'm recording. Because a DJ that doesn't dance to his own music is kind of suspicious. You don't have to go totally crazy and wild because you still have to focus to play the music, but at least like a little bit of movement with the rhythm. This will also help you to count in and out the songs. Also, if you DJ a lot, make sure that the DJ equipment has the right height. Here it's definitely way too low. It should be at least on your belly kind of height. So we're missing here maybe 10-15 centimeters, because otherwise you have to bend down. You can't really look into the crowd. It hurts your back if you do that for years. Yeah, good luck. Don't forget your headphones, because otherwise you're screwed. Don't forget the little adapter, otherwise you're screwed. If you don't have them, you might be able to lend them from another DJ, but I personally absolutely hate doing that because you sweat a lot and it just gets disgusting. sharing the same pair of headphones. If you ever plug out by mistake the USB stick, this can happen, but luckily the new Pioneer CDJs, they have an emergency loop. They will loop just 4 bars infinitely until you set up the other one or get this one running again. These 2 buttons are the most discussed and controversial buttons on the new CDJs. I personally never ever sync my songs. I DJ them by hearing because it's way more accurate and actually faster. But if you're a beginner, just link those 2 CDJs and have the sync available if you need to, because you get nervous playing for your first time in front of people, and there is no shame in hitting that sync button and let the CDJs do it for you. That's definitely better than screwing up and making everyone stop dancing, but you should also definitely learn over the time to do it without it. There is nothing more embarrassing than you having a gig and realizing you're playing on older CDJs that don't have the sync button, and then you just can't DJ and screw up entirely, so get used to playing without it. Most clubs on this planet have equipment there, so you don't need to bring it with you, but if you ever have to, and especially if it's your own equipment, make sure to get a good case. I know they're expensive, but compared to the price of the CDJs and the DJM mixer, it's really quite affordable. If you drop these, they are broken. Also, if you're starting out as a DJ, get yourself equipment to be able to train and to practice and get experience. This way you can also play small private events with your own equipment, save money, you don't have to rent it. But once you're actually playing almost every weekend in a club, I would highly recommend you to sell your DJ equipment, because you won't have to train a lot, except if you're one of those hip-hop DJs that scratches a lot and has like routines in their set. But if you make electronic music and it's just like beat matching some effects, you don't have to constantly train it. Every single DJ that I know that has DJ equipment at home and is DJing every weekend doesn't use it at all. And that stuff is expensive. You could spend the money, I don't know, for good speakers, maybe getting into music production. Don't actually spend your cash on this equipment, especially not the high top-end Pioneer stuff. It's so overpriced. Their very basic entry-level stuff is really enough to just train at home and get used to DJing. You don't need this high-end stuff. It's really not necessary.
Without you in my life, 'cause I've been thinking about all the things that you say when you want it to go away. And when it all comes around, your voice is my favorite sound.
Yes, all of that equipment was unfortunately just rented. As I said, it's not really worth having it around and not use it. So whenever you need equipment, just get it from a friend or from a rental place. It's just a couple of bucks per day and you can train with it. Another tip I got is be respectful towards your equipment, because especially if you play in clubs, it's not yours. If you spill drinks over it and destroy it every time you DJ there, very unlikely that you will DJ again there. That stuff is just way too expensive. I hope these were 20 DJ tips. I actually didn't really count, but I'm pretty sure someone in the comments will let me know. Next up, working on a project with my buddy Justus in his studio. It's a secret project for a company, some advertisement stuff. Extremely successful day, very busy. I couldn't even film anything for the past, I don't know, 10 hours. But I took care of that project with Justus. I also took care of a lot of label stuff, working on my own next release that should be coming up in 2 months, hopefully. And there's just one last DJ tip I have for you, and that is actually having a track, a P track. So whenever you have to pee, you need a track that is long enough. If you play very commercial music, the songs are just 3 to 4 minutes long. So you might maybe consider pre-mixing 2 of them into each other to have at least like 5-6 minutes to go to the toilet and come back. Especially if you play longer sets alone, there's no other DJ that could take over. Very important to have a P song. Now just dinner, back home, sleeping, working. Tomorrow the same thing again. maybe to the studio, maybe not, I don't really know. So definitely don't forget to tune in, and also let me know if I forgot any DJ tip, or if you have one, just leave it down below in the comments. That's it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, sign out.